All right, gorgeous souls, welcome to the Jaclyn Shaw Show. Today, I have a friend with me, a woman that I've been in partnership with and collaborations that I'm speaking at events with coming up this spring. And so, Anna Lozano, I'm so excited to have you here today and to get to dive in together.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I just love our evolution together.
You said this the other day when I was on your podcast, and I was like, wait a second, we are not that old. When you were like, we've known each other for 16 years. And I'm like, what the heck? Like,
Crazy.
is that actually true? And I'm like, was 2010 not like 2 years
Yesterday?
ago? Like, hello, what just happened here? But it has been so cool. Like, we've witnessed each other on different evolutions of our journey in network marketing together. And then I owned a clothing store at that time, watching you start up Love Powered Co., watching you exit that business. We also just really reconnected a couple years ago through mentorship with Neil Donald Walsh. And then we ran into each other in person this fall and just got to dive deeper. You've also been coming in and supporting me as like my mission, my prayer has been to have my voice vibrate around the world. So I've gotten to also be a client of yours. Like we've just been on there's just been like
Oh,
so much that I'm like, I don't even know where I want to start with this conversation. But so we're gonna dive in. And I mean, I kind of touched on bits of your story, but I'd love for you to share a bit more because I mean, again, there's just been like so much. You're also, starting a new brand right now. And every time, like anyone I talk to about you, they're like, she's just such a connector. And more than just a connector, what I often hear about you is like, you're someone who really wants other people to win. You really, and I know you're competitive. So when you're playing pickleball, you want, but in life, in business, like, you're such a connector, you're such a support for people, and you can really feel that within your being, like, you want to see women rise, and you wanna see women rise together.
yeah, I really do. I really do. And I love that you say, this competitive nature, I needed an outlet for it. And it's so fascinating that it came back into my life through sport. But that is one energy that I intentionally never wanted to hold in business. Like, I really love, like you said, seeing women rise and really live out their vision and their purpose and their mission. But I think the most fascinating part of even just sitting here with you is like witnessing expansion and evolution. I think that's what our story holds, is that we've been together through these different iterations and these different versions. And at the end of the day, we're on this journey to expand and to evolve and to step more deeper into our mission and our purpose. And so I think, like, what a gift to be able to hold space for one another and witness one another. And I know everyone tuning into your show is here for that, is because they are consciously devoted to growth and expansion and evolution. And it happens through time, but it also happens through deep devotion. Like, this is conscious work that we're all on a journey of. We can see through the evidence of the reality that we're living, that like how exciting that this is the work that we get to do and this is the life that we get to live.
And, like, that right there, like, this is the work that we, like, get to do. This is the life that we get to live. This is the life you're choosing. I mean, you, like me, have also chosen a pathway, like, with your family of an unconventional life. Like, you are living in Mexico and your, kids are going to like school there, like being raised there, living life there, like driving around in the golf cart. And then you're also part-time in Canada. Obviously, I know from my perspective, like the choices that we make in life, but really was there, again, when you and I first met, we were both living very different lives. And there was, the experience of love powered. I almost want you to just take us on a bit of a journey of, like, that growth and evolution for you
Mm.
personally.
Yeah. I think when you speak this truth, the core value, I had this ping of like core value. And my core value always through every single iteration and every single version of self, and as I became a mother, has always been freedom. Like that is a true, deeply engraved core value that I hold. And so every decision that I take, every step that I take, every, move has always been connected to, does this support this version, this vision of freedom? And freedom for me, and we talk a lot about truth and expression when you were on my show, is like it's that feeling. And so when you describe even the version of today, it was like driving a golf cart, like that simple action brings so much freedom to my soul. And so I was really programmed to do the traditional route. You know, we're Polish immigrants. We came to Canada when I was 6 years old. I watched my parents work really hard at jobs that they were so overqualified for. And that programming, that belief system at the beginning was you have to work hard in order to achieve success. And so that's what I did. I studied really hard. I got into the Ivy School of Business. I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder so that I could have that safe and secure job, which again was my parents' vision for my brother and I. And so I stepped into a corporate environment downtown Toronto. I got a job at Unilever after business school, and I looked around and, a cubicle felt like a cage for me, where my soul always knew that freedom was the vision. Freedom was the goal, the feeling of, right? Like whatever that version means to you. But for me, it was that feeling of. And so when I got to corporate, I just felt it. This is not for me. This is not what I'm meant to be doing. And that was my first moment of surrender of, I just did all of this work. And I know there's something else. And so I got into prayer and I was like, what am I meant for? What am I meant to be doing? What is my vision? What is my purpose? And this is where network marketing dropped in. And this is where we met our first version of ourselves, really was through USANA. And at that time, I had no programming of the industry. Like I was really corporate focused. And so now I have this woman telling me that you can consume this product and you can share it with others and you can build a business around it. And I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I never knew how because I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. And I was like, wow, okay, I can be an entrepreneur. This feels like freedom to me. I get to do things my way and I get to be creative and I get to be curious and I get to learn these new skills. And that's what we did. And we built that company, my husband and I, quite successfully. We made 7 figures in the industry. We traveled the world speaking on stages. And that was that first version of freedom and entrepreneurship. And it felt good. And at that time, and this is more hindsight 2020, it really was built around the energy of hustle, of grind, of work. I had no children. My husband said, when we were doing like weekends, like the weekend would end on a Friday, like he would hide in the couch because I was, he's like, I'm going to wear gray. So I blend in with the couch because Anna's closing the week and she's stressed out and she's making shit happen, right? So it's like, yes, the freedom was there, but we built a business in a completely different energy. And I feel at that time, that is how women built businesses because the evidence was, there's one seat at the table. You have to prove yourself. You have to work really hard. And so when I became a mom, Maya was born in 2016. What I took from that experience is network marketing for me was a gateway into entrepreneurship and a gateway into personal development. And so I was deep in my own work of mindset mastery and looking at subconscious programming and belief systems. And, the proving has really followed me along on my journey. And it still shows up today. But it's like this conscious work on self really transformed my life. What would happen if I raised my children around these concepts of affirmations and mindset and mindfulness and gratitude, like intentionally? What would happen if they're not having to unfuck themselves down the road, as I've been doing with all the programming and all the belief systems that clearly were not mine? They were never mine to own, but it was through environment that they became mine. And so we launched that company and, grew it quite quickly. It was the world of mindfulness was just at the beginning stages. I remember being at Pottery Barn in Sherway Gardens and getting people to test the products. Like, would you like to choose an affirmation card? And they were looking at me like I'm wild and crazy. But it was such a fun experience to think a thought, think of this product idea, bring it to life, and then bring it to life not just through your own community, but then have people around the world purchasing the product that you created that was so thoughtfully and intentionally designed and created. And then we built that for 6 years, and I had the opportunity to sell the company in 2022, which felt like an incredible opportunity as a product founder to go through that experience. The last 3 years, like, it was just me in my messy middle in my next iteration and version, but one thing I have to say is, like, I didn't rush the process, because a lot what it came down to was, like, who am I now? Now that I've released this brand, this identity, this version of me, who am I now in this next chapter that's going to present itself? And so all the work that you speak of, like this unwavering faith and belief, all of that was my edge over the last few years of just not knowing and being okay with the not knowing and cultivating my relationship with God, with spirit, with source, and just trusting that what is meant to drop in next will. And so that's the version that I'm stepping into now.
This is the version that I get so excited about when I'm talking to women. It's like in that unknown. And again, like you've shared, like really coming from that like strategic and business background, and I can make this happen. Like you are a woman who can make shit happen. So going from like, I can sacrifice this, I can hustle, I can, you know what I mean? Like to witness you be willing to fit in the unknown. Like I get so excited because this really is where God delivers. This really is where we allow the magic to unfold. And, one thing that's been birthed for you recently is your podcast. Tell us about where this came from, like Prosperity Playground. And not only like the idea of it, but I also really feel called to chat about. I mean, you have so many incredible female founders on that podcast and women leading in business and mindset. And what I think I'm really curious about is that I've witnessed you have so many conversations with women, and I see like such a, you know, real truth in a lot of the founders that you speak to, that it is this like blend of business and business strategy and like being a strong businesswoman, but really being intuitively led.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I feel like this is the secret sauce. Like, this is the quote unquote strategy, is really dancing between these two concepts. And we spoke about like masculine and feminine, is like it's a dance. And it's for me, the dance on the one side was extremely comfortable. The masculine energy, the doing, the getting intuitive hit and acting on it, like very comforting, very safe to my nervous system. But the other side of it, of like leaning into full trust and knowing that I am divinely guided and supported no matter what, as are you, because you and I are not unique from anyone listening, is like we are all able to tap into this power that is so much greater than our human could even imagine or make happen or mastermind. And so in this void after the exit, I kept following the breadcrumbs. And so one of the first things that I did was I just became really curious. Like, what would it feel like to be in Mexico and on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. go and dance on the beach? Because, high powered women, 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, they're not going to dance on a beach. They're in front of their computers making shit happen, right? So it's like, I got curious. What would it feel like? And it was extremely uncomfortable at first because it was the old programming of I should be working, I should be doing something. And so I started playing with that. I actually got certified in sound healing. I bought my bowls and, I got curious about that and experienced that and different things that I would have never tried before if I didn't have the spaciousness to experience it. And so I hold so much gratitude in that gift of spaciousness. And I have to say, like, the contrast of it was extremely uncomfortable in the moment. Like, it was so much undoing of the doing. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to even say it, but I know that women listening who have been in this energy of masculine, high-powered, accolade success, like, you can resonate with this. Like, it is extremely unsettling to be not in the doing. And that took, like, from a nervous system standpoint, like to actually feel safety in the not doing was huge work. and also the reprogramming of the beliefs. And so one, I got curious. And two is I started following the breadcrumbs. So I had this opportunity to join this beautiful group here in Mexico to do the Dr. Joe Abundance program. And it's a three week program. And most of it is focused on this meditation. And I'm your classic girl of like, I'm a 4-6 generator. I don't meditate, or I do like fast paced walking meditations in nature. Like, these would always be my excuses. And I said, you know what? This is showing up for a reason. This is a synchronicity. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to join this meditation group. And so we were going through this program, which is a beautiful program, by the way. And one of the days, it's again 3 weeks. So one of the days in each week is a 70 to 90-minute meditation. And I was like, holy shit, we're not just doing like a little meditation, we're going all in. And so I began meditating with Dr. Joe. And then once this group finished, I continued meditating every single day for 70 minutes a day. Now, this takes a lot of planning and it takes coordination. And I had Yvonne, my husband, who had my back. And I said, you know what? I'm going into meditation. If you can just hold space for me, take care of the kids, whatever it was, it had to be scheduled in, just like we schedule in business, just like, we have to schedule in certain areas of our life that may not be right now a habit. So through these meditations, I was in it and the podcast dropped through. The podcast dropped through, but not just the idea of a podcast, but the name dropped through, the Prosperity Playground. I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking genius. So of course, first thing I do, I go to GoDaddy, I check the website, it's available. I go on Instagram, it's available. So I'm like, we're doing this. Okay. So this is where like that strategy and soul really connect, is like allowing the spaciousness for the wisdom, for the intuition to drop in, and then taking that aligned, inspired action is what brings it to life. And in that energy, when you create from this energy, of course, the very thing that you create is going to be prosperous, is going to be successful, is going to be abundant. And so then I just took the next action steps. And like you said, I've had the most incredible guests say yes. I knew one thing about myself too, is like, if I'm doing this podcast, I need this podcast to move me to my edges. And one way that it's been able to do this for me is going after these guests who are thought leaders. They're world-renowned authors, they're speakers, they're, 7+ figure business owners. And so going and inviting these individuals who have so easily and gracefully said yes has been that edge that I needed for my own growth and expansion in bringing this project and this product to life.
So with this, like you meeting your edge, was there like edges in the sense of like ever like who am I to like even invite these women onto this like podcast that's brand new? Or like, I mean, I don't know if you have relationships with already established relationships with the women you had on. Like, give us a bit of that, because like you know, and before even there, having this idea and this, interestingly enough, like the idea for my very first podcast came through while I was in a sound bath, and was just like, I knew the name, I knew the thing like right away, was just like boom, boom, boom. But I didn't move on it for 3 years because I was like, what? Well, I don't know how to podcast. Now, like 3 podcasts later, this is like my 7th year podcasting. So a lot of women will like hear the voice. It's like, I can hear God speaking through me. I get that nudge. For me, I waited for 3 years. Some women wait for never. Like it never happens, often because we go to our head and we analyze instead of what you did. You're like, I'm going to take that first step, and then I'm going to take that next step. And when we can do that, I mean, that's when God shows up in deliverance. And that's what I feel is like really happening for you and like with the guests. But I do want to hear this piece of like what was going on for you when you're first reaching out to these incredible women that you really want to have these conversations with.
Yeah, it's such a great question. As you were saying that, I felt like every time we allow the logic to come in is like we literally unplug from the stream. Like that's what we're doing. And there's a thing with timing. So I think this is interesting too, and it can obviously play to our characteristics and our human design and our astrology and all the things about us and how we operate. But there's this piece of like when intuition comes through, when that guidance comes through, when that idea comes through, I know me as a 4-6 generator is like, I do take the action. Now, I do want to layer in timing. So with this pickleball brand that we're also building is like, yes, I've taken action, but the length, like we're year 2 and we haven't launched yet. Like the idea dropped in when you and I were in Neil Donald Walsh's program. That was 2023. We're now early 26. And so yes, the idea dropped in, but the timing with the doing also needs to align. Like this is where you bring everything together and continue to follow that intuitive feeling, because the steps have been taken behind the scenes, but we haven't launched yet. And now we're 2 years in. Whereas with the podcast, is the idea dropped in March. In May, I was already recording with my first guests. And so I do a lot of things that feel like really fun and activating for myself behind the scenes. So when I hired my branding team to put together the logo and the brand guidelines, I also got them to put together images of like the cover photos for the reels of like my dream guests. One of those dream guests was Jillian Harris, because I am speaking to a lot of product founders and she's like the icon for product-based businesses in Canada. I had Neil Donald Walsh. I have Jamie Kern Lima on that list and an image of her. She hasn't come on the show yet. But it's kind of being in that energy and that frequency of like dreaming and being excited and activated and whatever that looks and feels like for you. And so the frequency was really connected to it. And so then I made my list. I'm like, who would I love to have these conversations with on the show? And then I just went for it, and we talk about like the fear. I didn't necessarily have the fear of like, who am I to go for it? But as soon as my first few guests said yes, I was then able to, and this is where the strategy comes in, leverage those names to ask more names, right? And so, like, yes, there's this intuition, and yes, there's this strategy. It's like, again, that dance. And I like to call it a bachata dance, maybe just because I'm in, like, we're in, in Mexico, but it's like having fun with this flow. And so, I would say too is like go for the bold ask. Like if something's on your heart, it's on your heart for a reason. And then I have zero attachment to the yes and the no. I think that's a big part in business or in like going after our big audacious asks, our big audacious goals and dreams is like that attachment frequency, you and I both know, does not feel good, and it really unplugs us from the flow and from the source. And so like I just feel really grateful to be able to have these conversations with the people who are saying yes to the show, yourself included. And now that I have big names that have been on the show, it's just so much easier to get more yeses. And so, like, allow the snowball to unravel itself by going after your first audacious ask, is like what I would share.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like that's the thing. It's like now the snowball gets to happen because you did do that, bold, audacious ask that may have, like, well, you said it, like stretched and stretched in the edges. And I also want to highlight this, you know, being okay with the no's and not being attached to the yeses. I just recently, because I just had finished writing my second book, my publisher's like, who like is your dream like that would write the forward for this? And very immediately I was like, oh, like this woman. And interestingly enough, it was a woman that I met last year and we just really connected. And I was like tempted to ask her to read my first book. And I was like, no. And then the second book, I was like, oh yeah, like she would be the dream person to write the forward for this. And I reached out to her and she got back to me like right away with voice notes. And she was like, I love you. Like, I'm so happy that we connected. And she's like, honestly, like, I just don't say yes to writing forwards for books. She's like, where I'm at right now, she's like, I'm like in my motherhood journey and like with my kids. And she's like, honestly, the amount of times that I get asked to write forwards, I've just decided it's like not something I'm doing right now. She's like, and that might change. And she's like, I feel so much gratitude like that you asked. At the end of her message, she's like, I hope like I've explained to you like the why and that, it's like nothing but you and I'd love to read it. And she's like, if there's anything else I can do to help support you and promote the book. And I was like, honestly, like when I replied back to her, I was like no explanation needed. Like you just get to say
Yes.
no, and she gets to say no. And while she did give me the reasons why, like of course I understand all of it. And while she gave me the reasons why, like I'm also just really okay with a no and not making it mean anything about me or my book or my writing. It's like people have like their own life, and it's just
Absolutely.
sometimes it's going to feel like a fit and sometimes it's not. And sometimes it's going to be a timing thing. And sometimes but it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I'm here for the movement and conversations in alignment. And so I think that's really important what you said, that it was like, if you would have asked, and I don't know if this happened for you or not, but if you would have asked the first couple people and they said no, it's like, oh, so now do I go in like my shell and hide and say, oh my gosh, they said no, and now this show is not going to be anything, and da 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 da? Or is it like, yeah, with the yeses comes some nos, and I keep moving.
And I keep moving. And this is where you lean on the faith and the trust, and, like, I have this on my screensaver, is like, "What is meant for me will find me." And that brings me so much peace, is, like, knowing, like, maybe it's just a not right now thing, and there's no explanation needed, and there's no reasoning, but I trust that the very thing that is meant, or, the very guest, or the very opportunity, or the very forward, person, because I'm so excited to know who will be the person who writes the forward, because that is the person who's exactly meant to write it.
Yeah. And
Right?
it's like, and if I wouldn't have the no, then the person who's going to be the yes, like, wouldn't come forward. So no, I completely feel that as well.
Living in that. And truthfully, I haven't had any no's. What I've had is like non-responses. And that's actually fun because I get to like unsend messages and resend them when I feel the ping to resend it. It's like ultimately it's like a game. Like, have so much fun with this. And I feel like what you just said is like, as soon as we make something mean something, that's when it feels hard. And that's again when we unplug from the flow.
Yeah. Okay, I have two questions right now, and they might feel like a bit of different directions, but like I talk about God and money a lot. And when you said, you had just sold the company and then you were in this place where you're like, I'm going to go dance on the beach at 9 a.m. And you said it was uncomfortable for you. So this is when you tuned in to do the abundance like meditations. Was there a part that also, I mean, were you making money at that time? Was it like, well, your business had sold? Like, was that also an uncomfortable area for you around money at the time?
Yeah. Well, it was wonderful because we had the exit. So there was a cushion. And I think that's important to talk about because it's not, there was an opportunity to now go and take space. But the work was the inner work world, is like, it was just so uncomfortable to all of a sudden not be in the creating and in the doing. So there was this taken care of and safety of, yes, there is money and I can, and I've never done this before.
That's more what I was meaning. Like, that's the question that I actually was like trying to ask. It's like, okay, so like Ivy League business school, and then like could climb the corporate ladder, and then making seven figures in network marketing, and then building this company that there's like, I mean, to build a company and a product to a successful exit, like, let's just like take a moment. Like, that's a huge fucking deal. And so that's what I was like kind of more feeling. It's like, so you're taking this space, but is there a part of you that's like, I should be doing the next thing or making
Oh,
money or like this, that, like this, or
100.
blah, da, 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 da.
It was exactly that. It was like, the fears behind the scenes were like, am I even going to be relevant? Are people going to forget about me? What are people going to think that I'm now dancing on the beach and not creating the next thing? The crazy part is like, I know intellectually that like that does not even matter of like what the external world is dictating. But when I actually looked at it like head on, it was just my own feeling of not knowing who I am when I am not doing. Like, that's what it was. And again, not only was this a logical thing, it felt so uncomfortable in my body to not be in the doing. It is the craziest feeling, and I know the women who have been in this space can also relate to that feeling. And so I know now we talk a lot about nervous system, but I feel like 3 years ago it was still like, dibble dabbling in doing that, but really it's like in the physical body. Can you feel safety in these new edges that you move into? And for me, that looked like the not doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing. It's like everyone's edge is like different. It's like for you, it's the not doing. For somebody else, it's like the edge is actually like when I hear that voice, when I hear that whisper, can I step into doing and not hesitation? So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Cause I think this is like this really is for so many women, it's like, but I know this. Like, I know how to make money doing this. I know how to, it's like the things that we know. But when we feel that calling into something different, can we honor that and whatever that looks like and not need to know what happens next and not need to make sense of it? But again, it's going to come back to that trust and faith within it as well.
So, and then I'd love to layer in another thing is like, so yes, there was the exit profit. But then there was this also dynamic in my marriage. So, you know, my husband, like him and I have always been co working together. And so we've both been bringing in an income. We've both supported the household and our, you know, freedom lifestyle and all the things. And so when we look at the energetics of like, okay, Anna is now not producing for almost 3 years. Right? That took a lot of restructuring and reorganizing and reharmonizing the energies within our marriage because I have always been in my masculine as the dominant energy. And so as I started to play with and be curious about, okay, what is femininity? What is being in my feminine energetics looks and feel like to me? There was a ripple effect towards him because he's always known Anna's in her masculine. So that was also a beautiful opportunity of growth for both of us. And I can feel now that we've really reharmonized, but it's something that has also taken time because it's like, what do you mean you're going to dance on the beach? Like, you got to figure out how you're going to bring in some income for the family, right? Like, after a period of time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I realized too, I'm able to really, and you and I talked about this on my show, is like, it's like the pendulum. Like, I realize about myself and my personality and my character, like, I'm able to swing both ways. Like, I am able to be fully in my masculine. But now that I've learned how to embrace and enjoy my feminine, like, I can live there and I can now, in a feel good way, be not in the doing. But it's like, how do we reharmonize that and land in the middle that feels so fucking good for each one of us? And it's going to be different for every single one of us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So good. So good. So good. So good. And in a way, I feel like it does blend into the other question that I wanted to ask. And this is like through your own experience, through your lens, through again the incredible conversations you've had with so many women and thought leaders and like women who are like really leading in business as well. Like when you're looking at long term success, what does it really take?
Mm. And it's fascinating to really feel into this question and how it's shifted over time. For me, long-term success today, and I see this through line with all the conversations I'm having with women from different industries and different backgrounds, is like there's really not an end goal. Like, there is, maybe it's an exit, maybe it's, you know, $1 billion, whatever it is, right? Like, whatever the external goal someone holds. But for me today, true success is enjoying the journey of creation, enjoying the process of expansion. And yes, there's going to be like, there's going to be hardship, but I look at like, how can we bring ease into the effort? Like, how can it feel this way where it's synchronicities and ease and flow, and also being really discerning? Like, for me now, I know when something is out of alignment, we are not ever going to push on that thing. We're going to pause, and then we're going to trust that the very next thing is going to present itself. And so it's like being so devoted to this, but also, and I used to be the queen of saying, like, balance is bullshit. Like, I take that back, and I'm so sorry to anyone that I've ever, you know, mentored or spoken to. And then, like, that didn't come out as something that is possible. But I do believe that true success is coherence and harmony and feel good frequency in every single area of our lives. Because if your business is thriving, but your relationships are shit, your health is struggling, you're sacrificing in other areas that do hold value in your life, like, what's the point? That statement, like, what's the point, is what I've heard from all the incredible guests that I've had, all the friend conversations that I have, is like, what's the point? So it's like following that feeling is like, that's the goal. That's true success.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. And like the words that really stuck out for me too is like the ease in the effort, like the ease in the effort, the what's the point, the energetic alignment. Because if we have this like end goal, that's often when we're willing to like sacrifice, when we're willing to sacrifice our relationships, our health. And it's like this is the point. The journey is the point. Who I am through the different iterations, like and choosing my alignment throughout it all.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And this like goosebumps when you said like through the journey is like one thing I can like wholeheartedly and foundationally like for me integrity and freedom, right? I know that through every single version of self, when I was competitive, when maybe I worked in this other energy, integrity was always number 1. That is something that if I look back at my journey I can say job well done. You know, and now layering in this piece of like, yes, and like make it feel good. Because, like you said, this is the point. The journey is the point.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
good.
So good. Okay, tell us any last words of wisdom? What's coming
Oh,
up for you? What's on the horizon? Where do we find you? Like, give us all the good stuff.
mm. Yeah, I would just say, like, hand on heart, breathe because the journey that you're on, your vision, your purpose is yours for a reason. And so owning that truth, but really just making sure that it's the most delicious and yummy and fun, joyful ride that you're on. Because again, what's the point if it's not? So.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. And what's coming up for you? Like I know like you run retreats in Mexico. Is there anything coming up there? I know there's stages for you. Like what's coming up? Where do people find you? Where do they tune in deeper? Obviously, the prosperity playground, like you need to go listen to that. But what else do we got?
Thank you. Yeah, I host female founder retreats, which are the perfect blend of strategy and soul. So I do those in Mexico, really small scale, 7 women at a time. I do those twice a year. Like you said, the podcast, and then I'm working behind the scenes to launch a pickleball brand. So come out and play when we launch.
Oh my gosh. And I mean, I'm definitely excited for that launch for you. Like you shared, like it has been years in the making. And just to like touch on that, I think that this is also, really important. When I said it took me 3 years to bring the podcast forward, well, that's because I was in my own way. That's because I was like, I don't know how to podcast and like literally was like, I don't even have the equipment. Then one day I was just like, I'm buying a microphone and then hitting my record and like we're doing this. But I was in my own way with that. Then for something like my book that took 10 years to write, like it just felt like the timing wasn't there until the timing was there, and I definitely feel that energy from you with the pickleball, and so I'm really excited for you and all the things that you're doing in the creation, and I can't wait to see you in person in a couple weeks, and thank you. Thank you for being here, for sharing your wisdom and your magic and your story and your journey with me and everyone listening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful for you.